Too many kids are raised believing that arguing is bad manners. But that's a terrible way to raise kids. We should raise them actually believing that you can disagree regularly as long as you do it respectfully. I always thought as a parent that it's important to hide your arguments from your kids. And then I read this research which showed that highly creative adults were more likely to be raised in families where there were regular arguments. Now, I'm not talking families with yelling and screaming, but families where there's some real disagreements. One of my favorite examples of this is the Wright brothers. Their father was a preacher, and he basically spent his days picking moral arguments. At one point, he got into a big fight with school authorities because he would just let Wilbur and Orville miss a half day of school here and there so that they could learn on their own. He wanted them to understand all the different arguments that were out there and be open to updating their opinions. When parents disagree thoughtfully and respectfully, that sets a standard for kids to learn how to do the same thing. Instead of shying away from problems that are complicated and might require differences in order to get to the solution, they actually embrace those, and they learn to stop and think for themselves. And that independent thinking is actually good for creativity. We have this vision of the Wright brothers flying this plane together and being in total harmony. But most of the time, they would go through these arguments where by the third hour, they've switched opinions, and they don't even remember where they started. What was happening was they were each tearing apart each other's arguments. And as they did that, they realized that they were both wrong, and they had to figure out a different solution. We want to see more of that in families. We want to raise more kids who know how to argue and who know how to use that as a model to resolve differences and find creative solutions. Most great ideas are born out of disagreement, out of tension, out of conflict. And that's sort of the job of being a parent, teaching kids to frame conflict as debate and to voice those disagreements in a thoughtful way.